To welcome the Pleasant Grove City Council and staff to our work session today on, what's today, January 7th, 2020. We excuse the mayor, who is having an aloha session somewhere.
I'm sure he's tuned in.
What's that?
I'm sure he's tuned in watching the proceedings.
I'm sure he,
It's still early
I'm
there.
sure he is. I'm sure he is. We'll, why don't we, should we turn this over to Scott?
Yeah,
You wanna go through the
let me
agenda
just
for
walk
us?
us through the work session. So we'll start with a little presentation to Lynn as a thank you for serving on the council. Administering the oath of office, we're going to move that to our city council meeting, probably item number 3A. So after we do our opening remarks, then we'll do the swearing in. So just so you know, we'll be moving that to the regular council session. And then item 3 will be, Chief Roberts will give us an update on the police department, kind of a follow-up from when he was hired. He talked about certain things that he'd like to get going in the department, so we'll give him a chance to kind of talk about how things are going there. And then we should have time to review today's agenda and probably also do our staff reports, so that once we get into council meeting, I know that there's some engagements tonight that people need to get to, and we can get to our council meeting, we can get through that pretty briefly. So that's our work session. So with that, I'll kick it back to you, Todd.
Great, thank you. This, I need to share the first time I met Lynn. It was at a Center Stage event. And I was a little scared, quite frankly, to meet Lynn and the rest of the city council. And over the course of the last, I guess it's been 3 years ago now, I've gotten to know Lynn and Linda, and I can't say enough good about what they've done their entire lives for Pleasant Grove. He stepped up in a time when the city needed his leadership and his abilities, and for that, I'm grateful, and I know the city is grateful for all that Lynn has done for the years of work in public service, in as a public works director, and with all of the committees and board appointments. I would probably dare say that there's nobody that's served longer in our city than in as many capacities as Lynn Walker. And so Lynn, from all of us, as a representative of the city, thank you.
Thank you.
Heartfelt thank you for your dedication, your honesty, your compassion, your wisdom, and your dedication to the city. We have a little, and I'm going to turn to the council, see if they have a few words as well.
Because of that, we're going to make you stay an extra hour and wait for the swearing in.
But the movie starts at 7.
7, so we're good. No, I think we need to have Lynn come down the front here, and we can present him with some stuff. And
We have a few things for you.
and
Mr.
get a final
Walker.
picture if we could. Is that okay, Lynn? Linda, you're up here too.
Linda, come up too, the mother of the city.
Mother of the city, that's well put. Yeah. Should we get on there?
It's worse. Well, let's,
I tried to get Linda to run. She did run away. And the mayor really wishes he could have been here.
What was that?
You gotta get in, Lynn. You gotta pretend like you love these guys one more night. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Awesome.
So we have a few things for you. as well. And a plaque for you as well. So there's that for Lynn. And,
We gotta take it out.
should we show? Yeah. All right, all right. It says Lynn Walker, January 2016 to December 2019, in appreciation of your dedicated service, devotion, and support to Pleasant Grove City as City Council. Beautiful. So thank you.
It's nice.
You can put that on your plaque wall.
Lynn, at our little get together, remember we gave you some pictures. Yeah. And they say a picture's worth 1,000 words. We got you something else that's probably a little more timeless, and so you can open that when you get home. Is that okay? Sure. All right. And
Probably
then
100 cards to go to the movie.
Oh, but that would have been brilliant.
Well, we blew that one, didn't we?
Wait, Linda, I want one.
you want to go to the audience yet, or?
Not yet.
No, not yet.
We still need your wisdom.
He was out here. Got my plaque, I'm out.
All right, why don't we move right to the police report with Chief Roberts?
Mayor, Pro Tem, and council, thank you. And I just wanted to give my gratitude and my respect to Lynn as well. I learned a lot of stuff
Thank you.
from him over the years. Thank you very much.
Make sure that mic is on.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
There we go.
I gave gratitude to Lynn if you didn't hear me. I just jotted down a couple of notes. I was asked to give some information about what's happened over the last year and with the police department under my leadership. And so I wrote down a few notes and give you a few things that maybe you did or didn't know. The first and foremost thing that I did as active chief was to change the grooming policy. And that might sound weird to you, but I'll explain why. Mike Smith and myself got hired on at the same day in 1994, got promoted to detective the same day in 97, and then sergeant the same day in 2000. So we were really close. We were brothers, and when we got hired on here, the policy was mustaches only. So we had like 28 days walking around, and nothing else. That was our option. So we kind of made a pact that if one of us ever was to be lucky enough to make it to the top, we'd change that policy. We even spit in our hands and shook hands. And well, Mike Smith made it there, but he chickened out. So we put out, when I first came, we put out, you probably remember the post on Facebook. We took a picture of one of our officers with facial hair and one without facial hair. Well, it went bigger than we ever thought. We got 7,000 responses back to it. 7,000 responses to the one post, and only 20 of the 7,000 were negative. So the rest, 6,990 were absolutely, we feel more comfortable talking with officers with facial hair. It's just a new trend in law enforcement, and that's one of the things I'm big on, is trying to stay up with the trend. So this was great for morale. It's great for officer retention. I mean, if somebody can stay here and if that's a big deal to them, they'll give up $1 or $2 to go somewhere else. It's great for the hiring process, and if same type of thing. If you got somebody looking for a job, they're willing to give up a few things if that's something that's important to them. So it might sound stupid, but it was very good for morale. And the biggest obstacle I had to facilitate is the department and the dispatch center moving to the new buildings, all while remaining operational, which was not easy. This was very challenging, but I had great people and great coordinators helping me out. Heidi being one of them, thank you. She got that whole entire dispatch center moved over without missing a beat. And I don't even think we missed a call, honestly. So that's great. Challenging, but rewarding. The worst part of that was the evidence process, and we're still dealing with that process. It's huge because evidence has to have a chain of custody, so we moved everything over in the building and saved the evidence for last, and then we had to move the evidence over into a secure Sally Port here in this building. And then I mean, you're talking evidence from way back in early 2000. That's a lot of evidence. And so we have to kind of separate it into years, separate it into months, and then add it into our computer system, our CAD system, mark it, and then find a place on the shelf and put it. So that's a huge undertaking. While doing that, we've been purging the evidence, which means getting rid of evidence that we can purge, things that have been adjudicated. And that's a huge thing too, but that's really important because the state has started recently auditing evidence centers in Utah County and police departments, so we're trying to get that done. It's a big deal. We're still dealing with it right now. We only have one evidence technician, and it's far too much of a job for her, so we're trying to find people, light duty people and detectives and supervisors to help just as they can. So we're still working on that, but so far it's been a successful venture. I was also able to procure a grant for new handguns. Our handguns at the time were 6 years old, and the lifespan of a duty handgun should be 4 years. So we were at a point where we either needed to, what we've done in the past is just rebuild the handguns, buy new parts, because you got to remember, the officers have to train so many hours on these handguns, and they're cops, so they love to shoot, and it's something they need to be proficient in, so they do a lot of that on their own anyway. So in the years past, we've had to get new triggers, new rods, new springs, and stuff like that. So it ends up being about $390 a gun. So I was able to get a grant from the Department of Justice to pay for that, so it ended up costing us about $1,100 out of pocket to replace all the handguns in the department. And so that was a good thing. And it's been proven that
Not even one.
new handguns give officers confidence and the desire to train more and making them better and more proficient shooters. So that was good. Made them happy as well. Good for morale. I was able to draft and put together an officer wellness policy. I just barely finished that, and I'm kind of in the process of changing it up a little bit too. The purpose of the policy is to ensure officers of the department are fit for duty and able to perform the job functions. The policy outlines the responsibilities of the supervisors and the employees, so it allows us to train supervisors in staff meetings of things, red flags, things to look for with officers, so that they can intervene if they feel like it's necessary. But it also covers the officers and training with them as well. It requires annual mandatory visits to the Employee Assistance Program. I'm also working on a new program. It's called Freedom Counseling, and they're new to the area. American Forks uses them. I don't know if Dave's heard of them, but American Fork Fire Department uses them, and they rave about them. And the difference with Freedom Counseling is that they specialize in police and fire and PTSD. So I'm kind of in the process of getting them on board and seeing if we can substitute Freedom Counseling for EAP. But the policy's set and the policy's in. So I changed our uniform policy, updating it to allow outer carriers. If you don't know what they are, in years past, we've had pants and a shirt with a belt and all of your gear around your belt, which is horrible for a back, especially when you're sitting in a car for 10 to 12 hours a day. It's kind of a new trend in law enforcement, making for better longevity for patrol officers by spreading the equipment across their chest, keeping as much off the belt as possible. And it's an officer safety issue as well. It's better access to stuff. And the good part about it is it's also good for morale, because if a guy's working a day shift in July and he comes into the police department to do some reports, if you have a vest on, if you've ever worn one, it kills you. You're soaking wet, and these guys now can just unzip them and take them off like vests and set them on the side and type the reports, and then if something happens or a call comes out, they can throw them on and zip them up in a second and be good. So that was good. We set up and oversaw another Citizen Academy this fall, and that's always fun. It's still work, and it's still trying to coordinate officers to come in on their overtime or off-duty time and work that. And there's not really a budget for the Citizen Academy per se, so we just kind of have to find a way to pull money from here and there to get it to be successful. But you can assess it's worth every penny of it.
It is,
So.
yeah.
We've implemented a school active shooter training that includes EMS rescue squads to provide immediate medical and aid to victims of mass casualties. And so this is kind of something we've done with the fire department. This means that we train alongside paramedics during active shooter trainings, and this benefits both the victims and the first responders. In years past, we've trained alone, and then when the situation we feel like is contained, then the first responders would come in. So this is also kind of a new trend in first response, police and paramedics training together for a unified response. I'm in the process of starting a RAD, which is Rape Aggression Defense Training for Pleasant Grove. This would be classes taught on a quarterly basis by officers to teach women defensive tactics during an attack. And I tried to get this up last year, but there's only one class. It's a week-long class that BYU teaches. And I tried to get it up last year so that we could start teaching it this year, but the class was full by the time I made chief. And so we've got Officer Locke and Officer Tanner Martin into the class, I think next week. So that'll be something good. It's a good program.
That's
And
great.
Seems to be very popular, so.
So can they, does that mean that once they go to that and get trained, they can come back?
Then they're
teach?
training, yes, they teach.
Certified.
And they'll put on, if you've seen the red man suit, and they'll have the batons and stuff like that, and it's a really good class.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be just for women, anybody can take it, children can take it too, but it's more focused on attacks on women, so. I was able to create the child citation program, and that might sound stupid to you too, but it's actually a pretty cool program. So the officers can approach children and issue them a good ticket. And we did the two kids that found the gun off our barricaded subject up there. But it's more or less for officers to keep in their car, because there's the problem. When we walk into Friends or Maverick or something, you always have the parents that are dragging their kids in there that say, all right, you tell them if they don't have their seatbelt on, you're going to arrest them and throw them in jail. And, and they just vilify us. And it's horrible. And so the kid's growing up scared to death. So when that does happen, the officer can go back and get a wristband and some swag and a ticket and sit down and say, hey, what's your name? And have a conversation to him and have dialogue, or to him or her, and then issue them that ticket, and then tell them, you're more than welcome to redeem your ticket down at the police department if you'd like a little tour or something like that. So it's not a big deal, but it's pretty cool.
It is cool. Yeah, my grandchildren were a recipient of one of those, and very good. Yeah.
It makes a big difference. It helps us not be
Yeah,
vilified.
Steve Britton.
Oh, it was Steve, that's right.
Yeah. The most important part of my job is definitely the day-to-day operations I have to oversee, and we're a service department alongside the fire department. The calls for service on the patrol side and the policies and procedures we follow to answer these calls. Also, the operations of the investigation division, and making sure the victims in our community get the best level of service possible, which I believe that they do. I have amazing people working for this police department, and it makes my job easy and also fulfilling, but the day-to-day calls they drain you really fast. Some of the things I'd like to focus on in the future, some of the things I talked about in my interview that I just haven't had a chance to do. First and foremost, and this wasn't an interview, but get back operational, fully operational, and fill our spots, which is hard to do, and it's not just us, it's everybody, but that's a goal of mine, is to try to get us back to the 28 full-time guys and cover shifts without having to go through overtime. I'd also like to get some quarterly meet and greets up and going, and probably have them in this room right here, and what that basically is having a couple of officers putting it out on social media a month in advance or whatever, 2 months in advance, and having some officers come down and just teach an hour or 2 hour class on different things such as drug abuse, domestic violence, identity theft, firearm safety, teen suicide, and personal safety, among other things. So I
Love
meant to
that.
do that, and we just
I do
haven't
too.
Love
tried to
that.
do that, but it'd be a good way for the people to interact with us, plus learn some things that I also just want to continue to work in conjunction with the Honorary Colonels Program and keep it moving forward and successful. It's amazing what those guys have done for us, and the equipment that we buy. I mean, it's been guns, optics, radios. I mean, you name it. They've spent thousands and thousands of dollars on us. So I want to try to keep the ball rolling that way and keep that successful. And with Mike Peterson, he's the president as we speak. That's something like that's easy to do. So, and right now, we're in dire need of dash cams on our cars. We have probably 11 of them that are malfunctioning and don't work, and that's a big deal. So the colonels have offered to try to help us with that. And so hopefully that can be facilitated. That's about all I have, unless you have questions or.
How is the last year different than you thought it would be?
It was nothing like I thought it would be. It was,
That's how it always is.
honestly,
Yeah.
I've never had a more stressful year, and I had some personal issues. My dad passed away and stuff like that, but it's, the stress of it overrides the pleasure of it at points, but I still love my job. And this is the thing. I mean, we're a family here. We're a very close-knit group, and I'm working with my best friends. So, and if any of you have the opportunity to do that, when you work with your best friend, it's not even like you have a job. You just come to work and do your thing and hang out with them and get things done. So it's not really like a job on most days. I get to spend time with my best friends. And
Well, Chief, you mentioned a couple of things on here that you didn't mention in your review, which I think is awesome that you implemented some of these new programs and things that you want to do for 2020. Give me the status on the Neighborhood Watch program and how we can get that implemented. And then we did like the monthly restaurant thing with the officers where
Yeah.
they go to different restaurants.
the meet and greets, and
The
they've
meet and greet.
fallen, yeah. we
Would
need-
that be different than what you're proposing, like quarterly, or is that kind of a
No,
different
we
thing?
still, we need to keep the meet and greets going. We just
Okay.
haven't done that with the loss of manpower and the move, and that's my fault. It slipped by the wayside, and it's definitely something we need to keep going.
Well, it's not like super high on the priority list, but.
Oh, but they're good. The community enjoys
But
them.
yeah, but that's the thing, I do know the community.
And it's good
likes
for
that.
me to, because there's a lot of officers that don't like to do that because their officers are alpha personalities and they don't like to interact, and it forces them to interact.
So that's something maybe we could get.
Yeah, definitely.
at,
That's
okay.
definitely a goal.
And then the Neighborhood Watch program, I think you said that we're looking at implementing, I know this year's been kind of crazy for you. But possibly getting 2 officers assigned to the 12 neighborhoods
Right.
in Pleasant Grove. Give
We've
me your
got
thoughts on
officers
that.
assigned to the neighborhoods, and we've taught a few. It's just been basically off of
Like need.
somebody
or
coming in
asking.
and asking, saying, hey, can we get that? Did I see Christy here? We did it in ours, right? We did neighborhood watch in our neighborhood. How was it?
It was fantastic.
So that's just something that we need to put out on social media again and just have it so people know that we do it, because we just haven't put it out like we should. But yes, that's a priority too.
Okay. And what about emergency management? Does Lindsay need help, or where?
No, in fact, I need to get with Lindsay. I've talked with her a few times, and she probably needs to come down and give you guys, spend 10 minutes like this and give you an update. And
Okay.
she's got
Great
the
idea.
organization broken down, and she's got the classes set up, and she's taught in a few classes. So
Okay.
we
Well-
we just need to have her come in here and familiarize you guys with it.
What can we do to help you this year as a council?
Money.
Anything else?
No, honestly, you guys are a huge support. It's so much easier to do your job, especially as a director, when I feel like I'm friends with you guys and we can just be honest with each other. And it's amazing to have the officers in the building and have you guys walk through the building and just, hey, how you doing? And for them to even know your name, because honestly, in most police departments, the first time they meet a city council person is when they pull them over, and if they don't tell them that's who they are, they get a ticket. And I mean, that's how it was when I started working here. We had no interaction with the council. I had no clue what the chief was doing as far as the city side of there just wasn't communication like that. So just your continued support is fantastic.
Okay.
Mayor Pro Tem, I have a question.
Sure.
Of course.
Chief, do we still put the statistics out on Facebook? The information, we started doing that. I don't know if we stopped or.
You know what? I don't know. I'll have to check the
Remember,
monthly.
we used to kind of,
Yes, you're right.
I don't know, do.
Like Britt,
Okay.
like Britt would do stats and kind of,
Right.
and I think people are blown away because they don't think
Right,
that a lot
yeah,
of that stuff
yeah,
happens
yeah.
in
We
good old
actually
Pleasant
did
Grove, but.
stop that. And
I just can't
one of the problems with that was Austin Edwards was in charge of our Facebook page, and he's the one that started it and had the password, and he left, and so it kind of left. We're kind of in the process right now of revamping our Facebook so that other people can have the opportunity to post. But that's something we will do. And Heidi will help me work on that, right? Thank you.
And
Okay.
Chief, I think just kind of in closing, I don't lose focus on your task that you had when you first started. it's so easy, especially when you take a new job, to get lost in the whirlwind of operations, right? Go back to your list of, you know, these are the things that I wanted to complete when I was hired. And, you know, keep that on a tickler file so that it's active in your memory. That's really all I had. Council, anything else? Good.
Oh, just thank you. We'll do whatever we can to
No,
help.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Wait, before he goes, would you like to say publicly talk about the 50 pounds of meth?
That was mostly major crimes. We had a guy involved in the investigation, but I don't know a whole lot about it because they keep
Okay.
their stuff super secret because
Oh,
now,
no.
now it's gonna be the bigger fish because somebody's gonna pay for the 50 pounds that's off the street, so
Right.
Yeah.
they don't.
But when citizens, and I know citizens talk to us about saying, well, you know, Pleasant Grove is such a safe place to live.
This is no different than anywhere else.
And I think what that says is that our officers
Right.
and the police department and the fire department are
Keeping it that way.
keeping it that way so that we do still feel like we are living in that. But when you hear, well, in town, there was 50 pounds of meth and it got taken off the street, that is wonderful.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
celebration.
But the thing is you gotta think of it this way. 50 pounds is just the 50 pounds we found. Imagine how much is really in the entire city.
I know,
That's a scary thought.
it is a scary
Yeah.
thought.
But our guys do good to keep it at bay.
They
I
do.
agree with you. Thank you for that.
And by the way, Officer Brenton pulled over Dana Ingeman and I. So he didn't know who we were, clearly, but anyway. So it is, but it is that first time that they pull you over. So
Well, hopefully
Stalwart
he didn't give
Steve
you
pulled
a
us over.
ticket.
Just pay. Yeah, just pay your fees, Diana.
I was personally not driving.
Okay.
I'm gonna throw Dana Ingeman under the bus on this one.
Thanks, Chief.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, let's go right down. Let's start off with the city council and staff business. We've got the review and discuss the agenda.
Yeah,
But we've kind of done that, haven't we?
Well, we're going to have Daniel go over the agenda items. We have 3 items, and they're all from Daniel.
Okay, let's do
So
that.
we'll have him review, give you a chance to ask some questions, because we do have 2 public hearings in relation to
Okay.
these items.
All right.
Are you ready, Daniel?
Yes, boss.
And 10B is
Yeah, 10B on our agenda. Well, okay, yeah, sorry. So on our city council agenda, we have 9A and B, which is our 2 public hearings. Daniel will go over that. 10A
the
is.
same applicant.
Yeah, 10A is a plat, and Daniel will go over that. 10B is going to be continued to January 21st.
Okay, all
And
right,
that's all we have.
great. Daniel?
Once Daniel's done, if we have time, we'd like to do our department reports too.
Be great. Yep. As long as Daniel's not too long-winded.
He's been warned.
What's the code, Kyler?
What is this?
I don't know.
Is this a new operating system or something? What is,
I
okay,
I always connect wireless. I think
Yeah, it's like-
it's better,
it's like
faster.
Apple TV.
Yeah. So, let me see. So
Oh,
today,
shut up.
if it's okay with you, Mayor Pro Tem and Council, I would like to go over the 2 code amendments that we have. One of them, and I'm going to start with the easiest one. One of them is for to amend the code to change. Do you have one? To change the design requirement for roof pitches in the city. Okay, so right now, in any single-family dwelling, we don't have any requirements for the roof pitch. It could be flat, it could have 612. The 612 means 6 inches 6 inches height and 12 inches run. So this is the slope versus the run. So we don't have any requirements in the single-family dwellings, but in certain zones, we do have some requirements. We wanted it for example, in the Grove and some buildings, if they're residential buildings, to show a pitch. And we have a requirement of 612. Here's a picture that I copy. This is what a 612 looks like. Okay, it's not a 45 degree. Actually, a 45 degree is a 1212. That's a 45 degree. When you have a 12 inches high over 12 inches, super inclined. So our code requires for all dwellings to have 612s in 80% of the area of the roofs, and then we allow for 20% of the area of the roof to be 412s. And what the applicant is proposing is to eliminate that, to allow him to do flat roofs, 0 over 12. So pretty much modern style type of buildings, okay? I think the reason behind when we require the certain pitch is completely aesthetics. That's the design that we wanted, and that's what we require. In terms of structural, does it change to actually have a flat roof versus a pitch roof? Yes, it changed the snow loads. But it has to be engineered, and it has to be built in a way that it can take it. And actually, no roof is completely flat. It has to have a tiny little bit, maybe a quarter of an inch or something for the runoff of the snow eventually. So anyway, but our requirement is like this. We require 80% of the roof to be 612, and then 20% of the roof to be at least 4.5 over 12. The applicant is saying, let's eliminate.
Just in this zone.
In that zone, yes. Just in that zone. Not in the single family. In the single family, we allow for anything. So, all right. So that's one. And the other require, I have that image, it's a pretty good image. We can see how, for example, this building has different type of roofs, different pitches, different slopes. What the applicant wants to go is just flat. Okay, anyway. The next one, or the next requirement that the applicant is proposing is that right now, when someone's proposing to build townhomes, which is buildings attached to each other in a link, kind of like a sausage type of situation, we only allow up to 6 of them together, 6 of them together in a line pattern, okay? Usually when people want to go above that, again, based on aesthetics, what we do is we require them to go height or to build something that we call the house style. Kind of looks like a huge big roof, and then you have the townhomes, but not all on a line, but some of them have a door on the sides, on the back, kind of look like the big house style. That's how it's called. And what the applicant is proposing is to be able to build more than 6 in a row to go up to 8. So that's what, a 33% increase on the number, so a third of the length of one building to be increased.
And why is he proposing that?
So this is the areas that he's going to develop. As you can see, the applicant, once he has some constraints on the limitations, but the property boundaries, and they already have a type of a product usually that applies to. It's not that they design or engineer a type of product just for a specific site, but they kind of like borrow from somewhere else and bring it here. Now, for example.
So not prefab.
No, not prefab, but.
But it's just what they're used to building, you know.
Correct. They have a product. The applicant gave me 4 places that he has lately developed, and went to each one of them. I went to 3 because one of them wasn't completely built. They only have the footings and foundations. So it was not much to see at the time when I did the field trip for these places. But I went to this place. I went to Diamond Ridge, okay? So let's take a look at this, and this is a great example. Diamond Ridge, this place is in Draper, and it's customarily to have, it's not like a magic number that homes need to be, or townhomes need to be up to 6, right? They decided and they start building it at 6, but it's pretty customarily to have 6 maximum. So this is the applicant's own product, Again, it's called Diamond Ridge, and you can see this is different because you got a street right here, and but these units are front loaded, but these ones right here are back loaded units. Okay, take a look at this. This is the best example that we have. So they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units together. Okay, attached. They're back loaded, so the front of the units are actually right here. Okay, this property is someone else's property, and they come out with a fence. When you do something like that, and all the buildings are flush in a line, you cannot create again 100% aesthetics, but you cannot create something that looks like an alley. Okay, now if we take a look at this right here, and we see something like this or something like that, we think it looks. We gave a certain feeling, but when I actually filtered the place and I took a picture of it, this is how it looks. It's just a narrow alley, okay? And this is the front of the dwellings. Remember, the back is not the front. This is actually the facade. The back is just the garages. So this from here to here is 6 units, okay? The setback they have right here is 25. It's exactly what we require in the zone. So by us allowing to go up to 8, we're making something a little bigger and creating a narrower. It's not narrower, but it gives the perception of being narrower because now it's longer alley in the front. Okay. Here's another picture. Same product, same building, but the last picture I took was from here. This picture is from here. So just imagine this, plus add 2 more or 30%, 33% more of that building. And that's what we're gonna end up happening.
Maybe you're gonna get to it, but did we talk about staggered them or different setbacks on the
Yes.
buildings? and-
So let me go back to this, and I'll get to it. So I think this is the best example of what the applicant is proposing to do. Again, he gave me a couple other examples, and I travel. I went to Colville Village, and usually this is a great example of a house-style type of unit. When you have more than 6, and you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Holy cow! I'm really good at playing maracas. Look at that.
7.
7 of them. 7 of them. They're not in a row. Do you see? They bend a little bit. So that gives a different type of a visual. Okay. When you have something. Now the applicant also provides 7 right here. They're back loaded, but look at the front. The setback is way bigger. We're talking the setback right here, 30 to 35 feet. So how does that look? When they build something like this, it ends up looking like, remember, that's what we have right now or what's gonna happen. And when you have a staggering buildings or a bigger setback, in my opinion, again, and this is total aesthetics, that picture looks 10 times better than that one, okay?
Yes.
So we present this to the planning commission. Can I say, Tina, what the voting was, the planning commission? So I present this to the planning commission, and the voting on the flat roofs was unanimous. Okay, let's go with flat roofs. The voting on this one was 4 to 3. So out of the 7, it was pretty even, right? 4
in favor.
4 in favor of doing them in a row like that.
And was the setbacks at 30, 35, or at 25?
The setback right now is 25.
Okay.
That's exactly what it is right there too.
Hold on,
It's
I'm
25.
Sorry, I'm confused. So 4 of them, 4 to 3 in favor of limiting it to 6?
No.
Taking it to 8?
Taking it to 8. Yes.
But with the setback of 30?
No, with 25.
Which is 25. okay.
25.
But in a format of,
No,
there
still
was no
in a row.
condition on that, it was just straight in a row.
Correct. That's what the applicant is proposing, right? The applicant is proposing just to add 2 more. We know any other restrictions. Leave it as it is. The setback is 25, and they're in a row right now.
Is there a reason why he did that based upon the footprint of the property?
Totally.
Was it because of the footprint of the property? Or was it because of, square footage and?
No, well, and that's a good question for the applicant, but what I'm assuming, which we shouldn't assume, but I'm gonna take an assumption right now, but what I'm assuming is, so the developer already has all these plans and stuff for this type of buildings, and what he's trying to do is just grab those plans and bring them up to the.
Was
what
the
he has.
setbacks of increasing ever discussed, or just what he presented?
No, it was one of the discussions. So, for example, and what staff again proposed was, I think like this is a way better a picture of a development. Now, that corner, I'm going to show it to you really quick too. Is one of his developments as well. Is this one right here? That picture that I showed you that I think looks better is right here. It's the same situation. It's not against a road. It's against a property line. So here you got a neighbor that eventually can build up to a 10-foot fence, but the setback is 30 feet, which increases, it gives more airflow, it looks way better. And this, as you can see, these buildings are staggered, okay? And that was the proposal from the staff. Staff was asking for, instead of 25, maybe go 30 feet, or instead of requiring to, instead of allowing to be flush or have no requirements in regards to the design of the buildings, to ask for the buildings to have a staggered setback. But again,
So wait,
and that's what the 3 people voted for.
Okay.
Okay.
so see the building 1 where you have, or no, it's L, whatever.
Yes, this is a great this
So
is
there's 8, but it's also in a, like a large building format.
correct. That picture is that one right there.
Would a 30
this one.
work in his proposed plan? A 30-foot setback?
Pardon?
Would a 30-foot setback work
Yeah.
in his? Okay, all right.
Would he lose units?
30
No.
feet and staggered.
Yeah.
Okay, and just to be clear, the 3 that voted no would have been okay with 8, as long as it could be staggered.
Correct.
Yeah.
The other 3 that voted no, and they mentioned it during the meeting, they said, well, we voted no because we're okay to go up to 8, but we will require, we will like to have maybe a bigger setback or to have or to have staggered setbacks.
Staggered.
Staggered.
Thanks, Daniel.
Again,
Anything else that we
that's the
need to
picture
know?
and just shows right there.
Did you want to do McKay's,
Yes.
The plat?
McCase Christensen.
Okay.
Mac,
We've been waiting for it for quite some time. That's the 11.7 acres north of Volterra. And what the applicant is doing right now is not a site plan.
your mic
did
went
you,
off.
did you turn your mic back on?
Yeah, wait, she was-
Woohoo, there we go. Sorry about that. What the applicant is proposing at this point is a step 1. What's a step 1? To create a plat. Okay, so it's a 7-lot plat. It's a mixed use. I call it a mixed use because I know that this is going to be residential. Lot 5 is going to be residential. Lot 4 is going to be residential. Lot 3, Lot 2, hopefully has some retail on it.
Hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah, at this
has
point,
to.
hopefully. Lot, because again, we're not doing the site plan, this is just the
I
plat.
know.
Lot 6 is gonna be office building, and lot 7, retail as well. But this is just the partition, the subdivision of the lots, and I'm pretty sure the developer eventually is gonna sell them separately or have them to different developers to get to the point. But this is just, again, the subdivision. This is important because also this one has the road dedication for 100 South.
Right.
So that happens right now at the time of the, so the dedication of the road will happen at the time of the subdivision. Okay,
Thanks, Daniel.
my pleasure, boss.
All right, let's go to staff business. Let's start over here with Sherry.
So the library through the state has added access to a website called Creative Bug. They're not things you can't find other places, but it's nice that they're all in one place. So anything creative that you're thinking of,
Example.
they have cake decorating, they have knitting, they have, all types of.
Like tutorials on how to do it and stuff.
Yeah. So it's fun to just explore there. I didn't see woodworking or some of the, some others that might be interesting to a lot of people, but
Okay, Eric's really interested in the knitting. So.
Yeah. He was
Well,
saying
I
as
was
long as
hoping
as
for a
long as it
pretty
was
cake next week.
underwater knitting, he was in.
yeah, so that's a fun addition that we have. And if you've never looked at our databases, we have a nice variety of things. Along with Creative Bug, we have Learning Express Library where you can prepared to take tests or work on your resume, all sorts of things there. And
Great.
numerous others. So get on there and explore sometime, because we really offer a lot of things. Plus,
There's a link, there's a link from our site?
plus the EBSCO databases, which if you went to college in the last 20 years, you should be familiar with.
With what?
And for research databases. So if there's ever something that you are trying to research, we do have access.
Sherry, is it still, if they log in, it's authenticated against our library, so if they use their library card, they can access, okay.
Yes, some of them don't require that, but most of them do require that you put in your library card number. So there are a lot of resources that you may not be aware the library offers through the computer, including downloadable audiobooks. People still all the time say, I spend a fortune on Audible, and you don't have to spend a fortune on Audible. We have downloadable audiobooks through the library.
That's awesome.
That's great.
Thank you.
I didn't know that, so that's, thank you. Tyler?
We are busy. It's time to get your resolutions going. So
So you'll be busy until February.
we'll be busy a couple more weeks, and then you can
It
come on back.
drops
So, no, we fitness fair is this Saturday. Our pricing for all of our passes, the discounts went on sale yesterday, and we sold a lot of passes yesterday just to start things off. It's going really well.
Can you just keep us apprised of how you do year over year?
Yes, I'll get that
So
report
that
to
we
you.
know that we're growing and.
Yeah. Yep. I'll probably share that in a couple of weeks in my report that I get to share with you. I just want to invite you guys, 9 to 1 on Saturday is the fitness fair, and our new fitness director, Andy, has been working really hard to get a lot of vendors there and make it a fun event for everyone. So if you guys got some time on Saturday, come down and just see what's going on. And you'll see our junior jazz in the other 2 gyms, and it's in full
Diana
flow
will be there.
going. And
I will too.
good.
Thanks. So, okay, Dion.
I really don't have anything today.
Oh,
Please, please.
Christmas lights are coming down. Yeah.
okay, what else? I know you have something else.
He's trying to keep it short, Sid.
Well,
Christmas
Dion
lights
does a
are-
lot.
Christmas lights are coming down.
Thanks, Dion.
Best year for Christmas lights.
It was awesome.
We'd love to see you on Saturday night at 7 at the station. We're just going to do it out in the bay. We're not able to find another venue, so we'll just do it right there and
That's a great venue.
I love that.
down home fun.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you, Chief. Chief, anything else?
I don't have a whole lot else either. If you've driven around the building, you've noticed that the gates are broken, and there's a couple of other small things that they've come out and fixed several times, and I think they're just too heavy. So we've got a work order put in for them, and we're just waiting for Big D to get back with us. So we can,
All warranted.
Yeah.
So that's great. Okay, thank you. Daniel, anything else from your side?
No, I think I'll have
Okay.
a lot of time to talk today.
All right. Tina?
Just to report, our new prosecutor starts on Monday,
Okay,
so that's good news.
good news. Yep,
You'll be introducing.
great.
I'll bring him in and introduce him.
Okay. Scott, anything?
Just a couple calendaring items. Wednesday, January 29th is Local Officials Day up at the state legislature. Utah League of Cities and Towns puts a little program on, so if you're interested in that, just get a hold of Kathy.
That's also Silicon Slopes.
Yeah,
so
I know.
Salt Lake
Oh, is it
gonna
the
be
same
a
day?
Nightmare.
Yeah.
And then February 12th is our award ceremony for the new award ceremony that we're doing with our employees, and that will be at noon at the rec center. So we'd love to have the council there if you can make it.
Can you send us an invite?
Yeah, no, I'll send that out to
Okay,
you.
great.
Email and the invite would be great.
Okay. That's all I have.
Okay. Denise, thank you for the email on the CAFR. Appreciate that.
Yeah, so if you have any questions after you look at it,
Okay.
so it's on the website.
Okay.
You look super short. Is your chair laid down a little
Yeah, but it's good. But of course, I'm sitting by these two.
bit? I know, that's true. You're just like way little,
Just a little, we have a little finance
I can barely
director.
see you. Yeah, thank
Yeah,
you.
Denise, that Scott and Kyler did that to you, just so you know. Uh-huh, yeah. Kyler, anything from you?
Yeah, the communities that care will be posted this week. So
I
if you
saw
have
that on
if you have
the,
people who are interested,
newsletter.
Yeah, and if you have things you would like to put in an employee newsletter, let me know. We're gonna try and see if that is a good communication mechanism for our employees.
Yeah, I loved it, actually. I thought that was a, Sid and Diana, have you guys seen that yet?
Yeah.
Okay.
The other thing is with the employee awards that Scott was talking about, we're having our employees submit those before the 15th. So hopefully we'll get a lot of award nominations.
That's important. You know, that employee morale and is important on that side. So Kyler, thank you for that. Sid, anything?
No, just excited for a new year, 2020. I mean, there's a lot of good things happening in the city, and we've tackled a lot of the challenges with the public safety building, and we're working on roads. But I'm excited for, you know, the care tax and things we have coming for, you know, recreation facilities for our community to get outside and enjoy everything.
Yeah, that actually, Scott, when, do we have a date that we're moving towards the pickleball courts? Is that,
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll talk about that at the retreat.
okay?
We just got our preliminary estimate on it, and we're reviewing it on Thursday, because we need to start paring it down financially. It was a little bit higher than what we thought. So we'll have a nice little presentation for you at the retreat on kind of what the plan is for the summer to do that.
Awesome. Yeah, that's, a lot of people are talking about that.
Oh, yep.
That's good.
And just, I love our junior jazz and our rec programs. I mean, I grew up playing junior jazz, and my son who's 12 is playing, and we went to one of his games, and he kind of surprised us because he's probably the least athletic out of all the kids. And I mean, he was just jump shot scoring. I mean, it was like, what's happening, you know? And so he did this move and like kind of behind his back and then stole it. So he came out and I'm like, what was that? And he was like, I don't know if any of you guys watched the TV show The Office, but when in the opening series, like Jim does this move on the basketball court and that's where he got it. He's like, I just did the move that Jim did. I'm like, okay, well, it worked. So, and I just love that they can go, and sometimes they don't fit in these other sports, especially competitive wise, or people don't have the money. And so it's just fun. I look forward to going to his games every week, and the refs are great, and they're learning, and, you know, kids can see each other and, you know, get together outside of school. It's just fun. It's just a great program. So I really, really appreciate all the programs the rec has, but especially where kids can participate in athletics outside of a competitive, you know,
It's good.
week. So thank you.
Thanks, Sid. Eric?
Go Vikings.
Go
That's all I have.
Vikings, game at 7.
Okay.
Yep.
The Christmas lights were beautiful, Dion. They really were. And I had a lot of people who drove through town tell me so. So it was not just us. And snow plowing was great. Always very grateful when, especially it's on a holiday night, when everybody else wakes up. And anyway,
It was both New Year's Eve or Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve.
I'm not sure. Was it just
It was.
Christmas Eve?
It was both.
Okay.
Yeah, it was both.
Or New Year's Day?
New Year's Day.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Walker, or well, hold on. Kathy, anything from you? So, Mr. Walker, any,
Nothing but a lot of
Anything you'd
big
like to-
thank yous. I appreciate everything that we've been able to do. It's been a great go.
well, thank you. Thank you.
And I'm still sitting here trying to figure out how to stay involved.
I think you're on some boards.
But I'll come
I
up
think you are on a couple of boards that still. All right, well, we're gonna,
Who you miss the most?
all of you.
you don't need to answer, you don't need to answer that.
We had a lot of Halloween conversations.
All
you
right,
know
you don't
that.
need to answer
Yes, we
that.
did. I expect those to go on.
All right, we're going to adjourn until 6 PM for our regular city council meeting.